so all questions can be answered to ensure fair and accurate vote. I ask you to do that today. I will continue to stand up for Republicans and demand that they be respected. And I will demand a meaningful review of the votes for the people of Michigan. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there questions? The board members? Well, thank you very much for, oh, okay, Norm. Go ahead.
Lori, you've been around for a while, your husband too. And you heard the testimony from some of the witnesses, Chris Thomas being one of them, that we have no choice today, that we have no power to order an audit, even though it appears to be a bit in conflict with sexual language. Specific to the testimony earlier today, do you have any comment on that?
Well, I believe we have the opportunity to request a review, a meaningful review. We need to look at the Wayne County results, and I think that you have time in the safe harbor limit dates to make that happen. So I believe that that should happen.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for your time
Thank
today.
you.
And I hope you have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a next one, and if I've mispronounced name, I'm gonna try my best. Charles Spees, who is the attorney for John James.
Hello,
Charles, you can hear us?
I can.
Okay. State and spell your first and last name, and then the floor is yours.
Charles Spies, Charles, Spies. My name is, I just said, Charlie Spies, and I represent John James for U.S. Senate candidate. Let's start by taking some issues off the table, and perhaps that'll let us dial down the hysteria and straw man arguments. First of all, democracy is not dying, and our position is not that this election shouldn't be certified. So all of the rhetoric, legal arguments, and unfortunately even threats from public officials in Michigan about the board having to certify are not relevant here. Those are straw men. Our position is that the board should, perhaps even must, certify. But it should only do that when it is confident that the results that it is certifying are accurate. By definition, and I'm talking Webster's, certification means quote to attest as being true. And this board has not only the ability, but the obligation to do everything in your power to confirm that the results you are certifying is true. The vice chairman is correct that you're limited to the review of returns, but nobody has presented legal authority saying that you cannot conduct an audit or independent review of Wayne County's AV canvas to determine the accuracy of those returns that you have in front of you, and you are being asked to sign and attest to as being true. I am not aware of, and nobody has presented any court cases limiting such authority for you in the context of an election canvas. You also have time to get this certification of accurate results right. Michigan law, that's MCL 168-842-1, required you to meet today for the purpose of canvassing and determining the results of the election. The law does not, however, require that the statewide canvass be certified in the same time frame. 842.1 expressly grants you, as part of your role to determine the results of the election, the power to adjourn from time to time for other necessary purposes. So as long as you complete the canvass, then announce your determination no later than the 40th day after the election, you are in full compliance with the law. we're asking you to comply with the law and use the powers granted to you to do what Secretary of State Benson has refused to do and take up the bipartisan cry from Wayne County for an audit or some sort of pre-certification review of the results, and specifically of the out of balance AV precincts in Detroit. As recently as 7 days ago, there was bipartisan outrage about the election administration catastrophe. I'm using Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist's expression there, the catastrophe in Detroit. If we use the Wayback Machine to go to August of this year, 72% of Detroit's AV precincts were out of balance, and the Wayne County Board of Canvassers was outraged and passed a unanimous bipartisan resolution requesting the state election monitored investigation, as well as asking Secretary of State Benson to appoint someone to oversee it. Even Detroit Mayor Duggan reached out to Secretary Benson then in August to get the out of balance AV precinct problem fixed immediately. He vowed that we cannot have a recurrence of these problems in November. Now comes the November general election, and while the James campaign, other nonpartisan groups and Republicans have presented luminous sworn affidavits of problems, I'm going to focus here on the issue that everyone believes is the metric for whether there's a problem that needs to be audited, whether there are out of balance percentage of AV precincts. And remember, in August, that number was 72%. And Democrats, as well as Republicans, demanded an investigation to fix the problem. Well, the problem wasn't fixed. The Wayne County canvass showed that over 70% of AV precincts in Detroit were out of balance yet again. And as an aside, please don't be distracted by Director Brader's attempt to cover for his loss, Secretary Benson's inaction, and or lack of results by changing the statistical reference for success in Detroit. He's now talking about new statistics about not quite as out of balance as before and possibly recountable, which apparently shows some improvement, but they aren't relevant to the problem everyone has agreed to focus on for the past few months, AV precincts in Detroit. Unfortunately, the Wayne County canvass last week showed that over 70% of AV precincts in Detroit were once again out of balance. As a result of this problem, the Wayne County Board again asked you for help, passing a resolution demanding a comprehensive audit of all unexplained precincts in Wayne County. This resolution was introduced by the Democrat vice chairman of the board and gained unanimous bipartisan approval. The question before you now is whether you ignore that, simply certify something that you know to be wrong, or if you take the common sense approach of adjourning this meeting for the necessary purpose of conducting an audit, or call it a review. I don't care what you call it, whatever you need to call it, so the post-certification audit statute isn't applicable. But we respectfully request you do something to get a grasp on what happened in Wayne County so you're certain of the accuracy of what you're certifying. This can be done quickly. Georgia did a full hand recount in about a week. There's no reason this can't be completed well before the first December 8th deadline to submit Michigan's electors. The people you heard from today, Director Brader, Chris Thomas, Mr. Baxter, were involved in the process that's implicated. And while I respect them all and appreciate their hard work, they also have vested interest in defending their actions. The review we're requesting you conduct should be overseen by an independent senior statesman, perhaps Senator Joe Lieberman, who upon completion will either instill confidence in Wayne County's results, or if problems are identified, then certify the correct results by December 8th, but also then leave us with a roadmap for future reforms. Thank you for your attention.
Are there any questions from the board members?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you'd agree with me that this board only has the duties and powers given to it by law, right? I mean, we only have powers that the law provides. Correct?
Sure.
And the law regarding certification gives us a clear duty, doesn't it?
Can you clarify which duty you're referring to?
Well, the law says the Board of Canvassers shall canvass the returns and determine the results of the election. And that's really what our job is here today. It's canvassing the returns that have been certified by the counties, right?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chairman, the accuracy of those results.
Well, I mean, I've had a pretty good chance to look at the law over the last few days, if you can imagine. And I mean, there's nothing in the law that gives me the authority, and then correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing in the law giving me authority to request an audit as part of the certification process, correct?
Nothing expressly gives you that authority, and nothing expressly says you can't do it. I would respectfully suggest that if you take the rubber stamp approach, that you are not allowed to have any discretion, that makes your job meaningless. They might as well just send the paperwork to the Secretary of State and have her stamp it with a stamp. I don't believe that's why you're there. I believe you and the members of this board are smart people who want to make sure what you are certifying is accurate, and that's consistent with the language of the statute.
But I mean, again, we only have the powers and duties given to us by law, right? I mean, I've reviewed the law here. It's not complicated. It's very simple. We're required to canvass the returns and determine the results. I've reviewed every section. I haven't found anything about an audit. I found nothing about authority for us to delay certification because we're waiting for more accurate results. I found nothing about making certification contingent on an audit. I have found nothing that gives us the authority to review complaints of fraud. I mean, I think the law is pretty clear here. And again, this board has such limited authority. I don't see anything where we're given the authority to act as a court or act as a prosecutorial agency. We are a simple board that's tasked with reviewing these returns and certifying them. Am I wrong?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chairman, you are wrong. I respectfully suggest that you look at 168-842-1, which requires you to ascertain and determine the result of an election. That's the language of the statute. You have the power.
Based on these returns, though, and nothing else. I mean, I've reviewed all the other sections. There's nothing that mentions an audit. There's nothing mentioning the review. There's nothing mentioning our authority to review complaints of fraud. It's limited to ascertaining the results of an election based on these returns or the statements from the county. And there's nothing else in these sections of law that say we can do otherwise.
In order, Mr. Vice Chairman, in order to make your argument, you had to ignore what I just read to you, the language of the statute, and add some language based upon the result of the returns. You added that language that's not in the statute. I suggest that you have the ability to ascertain and determine the results of the election, and that's consistent with the provision giving you the right to abstain and take the time to take for any necessary actions to help you determine that. So that you can't, there would be no reason to have that provision for extra time if you were just a rubber stamp.
Again, there is nothing in the law that says we have the authority to do the things you've requested, correct?
I respectfully disagree. I just read you the section that says your job is to ascertain and determine the results of an election. There is nothing that restricts your ability to do that.
Well, actually, it says we shall canvass the return and determine the results of the election. Okay, election based on those returns. There's nothing else in law. And I mean, we can agree to disagree, but I think the law is on my side here. Our duty is very simple, and it's a duty. We have no authority to request an audit, to delay or block certification, to review inaccuracies that happened at the local level. Those results have been certified. Our duty is to look at those certified results, look at the math, and then certify. That the statute couldn't be more clear.
I respectfully suggest that if you believe those results are accurate in front of you, then your position makes sense. If you, however, like the Wayne County Board of Canvassers, and like this board in just a few.
But I think the law is on my side here. Our duty is very simple, and it's a duty. We have no authority to request an audit, to delay or block certification, to review inaccuracies that happened at the local level. Those results have been certified. Our duty is to look at those certified results, look at the math, and then certify. That's the statute couldn't be more clear.
I respectfully suggest that if you believe those results are accurate in front of you, then your position makes sense. If you, however, like the Wayne County Board of Canvassers and like this board in just a few months ago in August, think that it's a problem to have over 70% of AV precincts out of balance, then those results in front of you are not necessarily accurate. And you have not only the ability, but the duty to look into those to ensure what you are certifying is accurate.
I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree on that because I find no language in the law saying that at all. And regarding adjournment here, I mean, I will agree with you, we have the ability to adjourn, but we can't create out of thin air an adjournment. I mean, we have to have some authority to adjourn. And there's nothing here in the law that I'm finding where we have the authority to say, we are going to delay for an audit again. We're going to delay to conduct a review of the election. We don't have that authority at all.
I think we may respectfully disagree again. I would refer you to 1 CHCA 842-1, which specifically says you have the power to adjourn from time to time for necessary purposes. So if you believe that it is necessary, as in your role as certifying the accuracy of the results, for there to be additional time to look into what happened in Wayne County, then this statute applies.
But we can't create that necessity out of thin air. Again, we have to have legal authority to do it.
I consider the statute to be authority.
Do you have any further questions? Is there any further questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Steve.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure we do have City Clerk Janice Winfrey on Zoom. Okay, so we'll bring up Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey.
Well, Ms. Winfrey, see you on mute, and I should be off mute now. Janice Winfrey, JANICE WINFREY, Detroit City Clerk. Just to let you know, ahead of time, I cannot be here long. I am not working. I have a medical situation that I'm dealing with that's dire, but I do want to allow the opportunity or have the opportunity to just remind people that the Detroit Department of Elections, the Detroit City Clerk, and the office is a nonpartisan entity. My charge is to administer the election process, ensure that voters know when election day is, and to ensure that they know where they go and vote on election day. In doing such, we've done everything to ensure that our process is open, that our process is transparent, and that it is administered in the spirit of professionalism. To that end, during this pandemic, where Detroit was considered a hotspot at one time, we went to great lengths and great measures to recruit and hire poll workers that were off work because of them being furloughed. So we had a different level, a professional level of poll workers. We extended training significantly. All of our supervisors were trained 8 hours for 3 days. And I'm talking across the board as it relates to our poll workers. We allowed our poll workers at TCF to work in shifts so that they wouldn't be as tired, so they wouldn't have to work 18, 20, 24-hour days, and less mistakes were made accordingly. And then we implemented the e-poll book, which is a laptop to ensure that poll workers don't have to copy information down, but they can hit the scan bar and the information is uploaded to ensure accuracy. We do all this so that we can eliminate as much human error as possible. But as humans, we all make mistakes. Please raise your hand if you've never made one. We've all made mistakes. And to that end, if our law would allow for human error, therefore being able to recount every ballot every time upon request, we wouldn't have to have these long deliberations to do your ministerial act of certifying the canvas of returns. We wouldn't have this if only our laws were reflective of errors that humans make. The only way that you'll show the purity of the process is by allowing for a recount of every canister upon request, regardless of whether someone made a mistake or transferred numbers or not. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate the work that you all do.
So Cindy, I know is there questions from the board members? Mr. Schenkel.
Hi, Mrs. Winfrey. As you recall, we had a phone conversation a couple weeks after the August primary.
Yes, sir.
One of the topics that came up was having the Republican and Democrat each in each poll pursuant to state law. Mr. Baxter testified earlier today that can't find Republicans to hire, is what I put in my notes. 8 to no Republicans applied. And I've got a list of 50 to 100 Republicans that did apply, and we're told we're full. So that is my information is contrary to Mr. Baxter's testimony. And I know you were right in the middle of this saying just have them apply on our website. I mean, did you have enough Republicans apply to be full?
So, to answer your question, Mr. Baxter was incorrect if he said we could not find any. We did have Republican poll workers, and we did reach out. Was it difficult? Yes. But after we got the word out, the Republican poll workers began to apply. And we had a great number of them. I don't know the exact number by heart, but we had quite a few. However, we did have to turn away poll workers, regardless of their classification, if it was too late when they responded. And that's what happened a lot of times. The training process is extensive and quite involved. And for you, and I have many, and I have it because they text me or they will send me a request, email and the like. So I have every last one of them. And it was 2 weeks and less till election day. Not enough time to properly train and hire and bring them aboard. So those poll workers, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Obviously, you said with the people I had that applied to the Republicans, you said must have applied too late. And as there were people at Global Hall informally asking the different counting tables of many Republicans at this table, the response is no every time, or it'd be fine when send them over. The counting tables didn't seem to think they had any Republicans. But what you're saying right now is that you had one Republican in every precinct in Detroit. Is that what you're telling me?
That is not what I said. I said that we had Republicans that worked with us. All of those, and we did have some of the precincts. How many at each precinct? I don't have that information before me. I'm just leaving the hospital, Mr. Schenkel. I didn't even know I was going to have to do this. I wasn't supposed to have to do it. I have a dire medical emergency that I'm dealing with in my home. So excuse me that I'm not prepared with the numbers. But no, I'm not saying that we had one at each county board. I'm not saying that we had one in each precinct, but I am saying we hired a significant number of Republican poll workers, those that applied in a timely fashion, just like any other political party that applied in a timely fashion when we were hiring. We hired them, we trained them, and we put them and we, assigned them to their precinct or TCF. What you will find, Mr. Shinko, what you will find oftentimes is that people are not willing to admit in front of other crowds of people what their political party is, and that's their business.
Okay, the law requires you to hire a Republican per precinct. Do you believe the law was followed?
I can tell you this, that we did everything in our power to ensure that requirement was met. And let me say this to you, Mr. Schaefer, this election was not special for us in order to ensure that. We ensure that for every election, every time. And when I go to the precinct and see the poll workers, and I just thank them all. The ones that came from Ann Arbor that worked with us, I met some. The ones that came from Livonia, I met some that work. I don't know their political party. At that time, I don't care. I'm just grateful that they decided to work with us, go through the training, and be a part of the process.